Finance, Trade and the Economy. Member?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. The question asks with respect to assistance given to any hotels on the island from the Division of Finance, Trade and Economy. Can the Secretary provide the following: name of hotels, if any, how much was the total assistance given, if any, what was the qualifying criteria? I wish to point out that no assistance was given from the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy. So the answer to that question is none. However, I believe the minority leader may be trying to find out about the assistance given to hotels concerning their bill with TNTEC, and that was done by TTAL on the 4th, 2022. Head of the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Association, Mr. Chris James, co-wrote the Chief Secretary and the Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, detailing the worrisome threat of closure due to the non-payment of reserve capacity rate fees by medium to large size hotel plans on the island. These reserve capacity charges accrued significantly during the COVID-19 lockdown period of almost 2 years. For those unaware of what the reserve capacity is, the reserve capacity is a backup energy generation capacity that is used by the electric grid in the occurrence of unexpected faults, such as the unavailability of a power plant. The reserve capacity, TNTEC determines the reserve capacity by looking at the load detail or the types of equipment present on the premises of the customer, in this case, the hotels. Essentially, those required to pay the reserve capacity are industrial customers. The reserve capacity provided by TNTEC, based on their policy, is equal to the customer's highest monthly kVA or per 1,000 volt amps demand. This rate, once determined, is paid monthly regardless of the consumption for that month. For example, if a hotel has a rate of $30,000 reserve capacity per month, whether that capacity is tapped into or not, that rate is attached to their bill. During the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown for over 2 years, hotels were required, hotels were required to pay this rate. After much discussion with the board of TNTEC, CEO of TNTEC, the Minister of Public Utilities, it was determined by TNTEC that they will not waive the capacity, reserve capacity rate for the Tobago hoteliers. So the qualifying factor was that the hotels had to have had this reserve capacity bill racked up over the COVID-19 period. Almost 1 year later, December 12th, TTAL was forced to jump into action as TNTEC was about to disconnect one of the largest, well, the second largest hotel on the island, owing to the non-payment of this reserve capacity rate. I will now present what the total costs were. The Tobago Tourism and Hotel Association, through its membership, sought to find out those that were affected. A total of 6 hotels were presented. TTAL proceeded to verify the figures with TNTEC. When verified, 6 of the sorry, 5 of the 6 establishments had outstanding bills. 1 of the 6 had in fact paid their bills, and therefore TTAL provided paid the reserve capacity rates for the following hotels: Mount Irving Bay Hotel, Starfish, or otherwise known as Long Beach Hotel, Ravenels Resort, Grafton Beach Resorts, and Half Moon Blue Resorts Limited, or what some will know as Backlet Beach Club. The total sum was $2,173,000, $512.54. The one hotel whose name was submitted, but when TTAL checked with Tiantec, it showed that they had no outstanding balance, was the Crown Point Beach Hotel, and therefore nothing was paid on behalf of that hotel.
Minority Leader.
Madam Presiding Officer, given that we were told by the Secretary of Tourism that during the Carnival, the revenue, particularly with respect to the hotels, was something upwards of $300 million. What was the need? If the hotels would have had so great of a season, that they had such great revenue, what was the reason that Tobago taxpayers' money, hard-earned, was used to bail out these hotels that we were told did so well in October?
Member.
Madam Presiding Officer, the hotels had one single period, not even a season, one single period of good occupancy owing to the Carnival. That figure quoted by the Secretary of Tourism, I believe, Madam Presiding Officer, spoke to how much the entire space made, not just specifically hotels on the island. One will also appreciate that with 2 years of lockdown, it meant that these hotels continue to incur debt because they have their long-standing debt to service, while at the same time not having any customers. I must also add that it is not yet 1 year since the Tobago economy is fully reopened. You may recall, Madam Presiding Officer, it was only in Easter or April of last year that Tobago returned to half of the pre-COVID number of domestic flights, and only in January of last year we resumed international flights with 1 flight. So we are not a full year yet to April when our economy in Tobago was considered fully reopened for the tourism sector. You will also recall that in January last year we were still debating and pushing about reopening our beaches so that we could reopen this sector. And given the fallout from COVID-19, the THA, this administration could not allow these hotels that are significant in size to go down because of the reserve capacity charges, which quite frankly should not have been levied against them, because those charges during the COVID-19 period were unfair charges.
Minority Leader.
Madam Presiding Officer, it is no secret that the member or the chairman of the Tobago Hotel Tourism Association also happens to be an ex officio member of the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited. And the Chief Secretary would have quoted a letter coming from that organization. And my question is, one, whether that member was part of the TTAL's decision, because what would arise is a clear conflict of interest in terms of where you have a sitting member of TTAL taking to the board a policy to benefit, to have some direct benefit for himself.
I don't think I heard the question.
The question is whether the Chief Secretary and the Executive considered the issue of conflict of interest in this matter.
Member.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. You will note that I indicated that the letter that came from the head of the association was dated January 24th, 2022. That's well before even TTAL was formed. The Tobago House of Assembly started this discussion, started having the considerations with TNTEC prior to the formation of the current board of TTAL. That's the first thing to be noted. And secondly, certainly the possibility of a conflict of interest was considered, and it is for that reason all the due diligence was done by checking in with TNTEC, who provided the rates, as opposed to getting it directly from the hotels themselves. However, the principle stands. Were we to allow these hotels to be closed, to be shut down by TNTEC, or were we to save them? That was the ultimate question considered, and this administration decided to move in the affirmative.
Madam Presiding Officer, I quite admire the Chief Secretary's use and application of words, but the question is simple, and it was simply, was this gentleman, who is also the leader of the Tobago Tourism Hotel Association, part of the decision? Because what we were told, this decision came from the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited, of which he is an ex officio member. So the question, all I'm simply asking, was he part of the decision, yes or no?
Member.
Thank you, Madam President Officer. That actually wasn't the question asked before. So thank you for a new question. Yes, he was part of the decision.
Minority Leader. We have a
If
three
he was
question.
part of the decision, and the previous question was whether there was an issue of conflict, then I cannot see how come the issue of conflict doesn't arise.
Is that the question?
Well, Madam Presiding Officer, the last time I checked, he is one member of a board with several other board members. And as indicated, all the due diligence was done, all the checks were made with TNTEC before TTAL made a decision, almost 1 year later from the date that the request came from the hoteliers.
We have a three question.
No, you said 5 last time.
Minority Leader.
But Madam Presiding,
Minority Leader. Next question. You can pose your questions at the next sitting for oral response.